Good evening, and welcome to another episode of True Crime with the Bad Girl, the Player, and the Stars. I am Benny Scala, the one and only player, and with me, as always, is my partner in True Crime. She's a New England Professional Wrestling Hall of Famer. She's Archie's mom, and to quote Ric Flair, she's the best thing going today. And of course, I can only be talking about the very bad co-host, the one and only Boston Bad Girl, Brittany Brown. Brittany, how are you?
I'm doing well, but I'm a little cold today. I got kind of used to those 70s and 80s, and then we got stuck with a high of 62 today. So I'm kind of cold. How are you guys doing?
I will tell you, I'm suffering from severe sunburn, but
I wish that was my problem.
I wish I had that problem.
yeah,
very windy, very cold.
We are also joined by the True Crime Rookie of the Year, Tiffany Starr, now also known as the New Genius, with her stellar performance on her college finals. And if that's not enough, she's also the Director of Security for Dangerous Dave's Carnival. Tiffany, it's not easy being you, is it?
It's not. I don't know how I feel about being the director of the security for Dangerous Dave's Carnival. It's kind of a scary thought.
It's going to get shut down sooner or later, so you might be out of a job, right?
Yeah, I'll probably be out of a job because I don't know if his operations are legal.
They're shady at least, right? Very shady.
Yeah, for sure.
But last and certainly not least is terrible Tori Starr. I don't know why I'm calling you that, but if Dave is dangerous, I figured you might be terrible.
Yep, I'm just here to fill in. I mean, his biggest role on this is just commentary. His commentary and saying how everyone's that's a piece of shit, and then just I guess talking dirty about the girl. So I guess
you could do that. That's pretty easy, right? Yeah.
And yep, and as he always says, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me.
There we go. All right.
Those some big shoes to fill, TT.
Yeah. I don't know.
It'll be great. So we got to pay the bills first thing first, and on to the show. This is Benny Scala, the one and only player, and welcome to another episode of True Crime with the Bad Girl, the Player, and the Stars. Folks, we're very excited to be announcing our new sponsor, the Free Spirited Company. Free Spirited is a phenomenal old-school clothing company that specializes in long and short-sleeve T-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, graphic tees, heck, even yoga pants. These T-shirts are, to quote Rocky's manager, Mickey Goldmill, a wake of art. Yours truly will be rocking the Free Spirited merch on each and every episode of True Crime with the Bad Girl, the Player, and the Stars. Not only are these shirts eye-catching, but they are very comfortable as well. Like what you see? Please go to shopfreespirited.com and use our special code MP20 to receive a 20% discount on all purchases. Again, that is shopfreespirited.com, and the code is MP20. As the poet laureate of the Monte and the Pharaoh YouTube channel, I will leave you with this. If you like what you see, go buy a tee. Heck, maybe even 2 or 3. When your friends tell you, hey, you look like the bomb, send them over to shopfreespirited.com. Well, guys, we may have to make this a daily show to keep up with all these cases. And this one's another tragedy. In the early morning hours of November 13, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students, were fatally stabbed in an off-campus residence in Moscow, Idaho. And on December 30th, suspect Bryan Christopher Kohberger, that piece of crap. Wait, or you say it.
What a fucking scumbag.
Yeah, you're not even better than Dave. In Monroe County, Pennsylvania, on 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty, thank God. A jury trial is currently scheduled to begin on August 11, 2025 in Boise, Idaho. God, what a miserable place that is. The Bad Girl and the New Genius and Terrible Tori will take you through the facts of this tragic case.
Awesome. Like you always say, Benny, we never have enough to talk. We're never going to
run out.
Yeah, this one's a doozy, just like all
I'll
the
be in the
others.
rest home and we'll still be doing this show.
Oh my God, definitely. In the early morning of November 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho college students were stabbed to death in a shared rental home close to campus. 2 female victims, Madison Mogan and I hope I'm saying this right, Xana Kernodle, lived in the house. They worked at the same local restaurant. The third, Kaylee Goncalves, had recently moved out of the house but returned to show Madison her new car. Ooh. The fourth victim, Ethan Chapin, was Kernodle's boyfriend and was sleeping over on the night of the attacks. 2 other female roommates also lived at the house. They were not attacked, thank
Man,
God.
talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So 2 of these people didn't really belong there. One decided to sleep over and one decided to shop for a new car.
I know. Can you imagine? Talk about being in the wrong. And I've always said I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. A couple of times in my life, I've said that. I take that back both times.
Yeah.
My God.
Not like this.
Earlier on the evening of November 12th, 2 of the 4 victims, Chapin and Kernodle, were reportedly at an on-campus party at the nearby Sigma Chi, I guess I'm saying that right, fraternity, from 8 p.m. until they returned home at 1:45 a.m. That evening, the other 2 victims, Mogan and Goncalves, had gone to the Corner Club, a downtown sports bar, at 10 p.m., from which they departed at 1:30 a.m. A live stream video on Twitch by the Grub Truck, a food truck 4 blocks south at Friendship Square, Main and 4th Streets, showed Mogan and Goncalves at 1:41 a.m. chatting and smiling, getting their food. 10 minutes later, and leaving to take what the police initially said was an Uber ride home, a trip of about 1 mile. The police later rephrased their statement to say the ride was provided by a private party, arriving home at 1:56 a.m.
Does anybody know what that's about? That was kind of confusing to me when I read that.
I know. The
We got
genius
kicked off
one
for a
must
second.
know.
What was
Was
it?
it-
So we got kicked off a little bit. I'm like reading, I'm seeing what you were saying. Private party, please room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're wondering what the deal was. Why did the police say first it was an Uber they took and then they changed it to a private party?
I mean, it sounds like just
Yeah,
a
I
friend
don't
game.
One
know.
mile.
So what it was I guess there was like the lower, like the freshmen had to take home like the upperclassmen.
Yeah.
Like there, it was like a service that they could like call, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was on that new
Yeah.
documentary they
So
just did last week.
It looks like that was how they ended up getting home, was through like a freshman or whatever, through that program, that ride program.
So
Wow,
I
that's pretty cool.
got a question for the Star Girls. Have a question in the chat room. RJ Hudson, where's Dangerous Dave? He hook up with a strange woman and end up lost. Very possible, right?
I plead the fifth.
Probably.
But
Dave's gonna do a Bill Clinton. I did not have sexual.
yeah.
How many times have those poor girls heard that, Benny? That's so mean.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know,
You should hear the things we have to listen to.
Yeah.
I
Trust
can
me.
only imagine.
That
would be a
fine.
reality show. Your guy's house would be a reality show.
For sure. So according to the surviving roommates, the 4 students were home by 2 a.m. 7 unanswered phone calls were made from the phone of Goncalves to her former longtime boyfriend, a fellow student. And this went on from 2:26 to 2:52 a.m. And 3 unanswered calls were made from Mogan's phone to the same person from 2:44 to 2:52 a.m. These calls were investigated, with the police concluding they did not believe the recipient of those calls was involved in the crime. A DoorDash order labeled for Kernodle was delivered to the house around 4 a.m. I didn't even know they delivered that late.
Yeah, it's like 24/7.
Yeah.
They didn't around here. Do they in Connecticut?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, everything's closed here. You can only get one pizza place.
Even fast food?
Huh?
Even fast food?
Yeah. There's a one pizza place that's open till 12 and everything else says, would you like to pre-order for tomorrow?
Oh, that's weird.
I'd have to, I don't even know. I'd have to check that out. I have no idea what it is down here.
Yeah, it's really weird. But I suppose in a college town that would make sense.
Yeah.
Because like if they close, then like they'd probably lose half their business, right? Yeah. If they stop delivering it at midnight.
What was it? A Friday night, especially on a busy Friday night.
Yeah.
Everyone's out drinking.
That'd be crazy in a college town.
Yeah, Walt in the chat room saying 24/7 in OKC. Wow.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. See, I live in the boonies. It's ridiculous. So the two surviving roommates had returned home by 1 a.m. Original reports stated both surviving roommates were in their beds on the ground floor at the time of the killings. They were not attacked or held hostage, and that neither woke during the killings. Wow. Those are some heavy sleepers. However, the probable cause affidavit for the case said that one surviving roommate stated she was sleeping on the second floor, the same floor as Kernodle and Chapin, before she was awakened by what sounded like gone calves and her dog. She stated she later heard a roommate saying something to the effect of, "There's someone here." The roommate stated she believed this was said by gone calves, although investigators also believe this might have been Kernodle speaking, as a forensic download of her cell phone showed that she was on the app TikTok at 4:12 a.m. The surviving roommate stated she opened her door twice within a short span of time, and the second time she heard what sounded like crying coming from Kernodle's room and a male voice saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Security cameras near the home picked up the sound of a whimpering, a loud thud, and a dog barking numerous times around 4:17 a.m. The surviving roommate opened her door a third time and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered his mouth and nose walking towards her. The man, whom the roommate stated she did not recognize, walked past her and used the sliding glass door to exit. The roommate stated she stood in a frozen shock phase and then locked herself in her room. Wow.
I wonder how she got scared.
I don't know. So that whole situation is just crazy. Like, and I'm not trying to say anything bad about the surviving roommates, but I feel like, and I get they were like drunk, but as we go on, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but the stuff that she was like hearing and then seeing somebody walking through your house and then you just put yourself back in the room, like, I don't know. The whole thing is like, can we like kind of have a little bit of a brain here? And like, why would you not call? If I was drunk and saw somebody walking through my house, I would still have enough sense to like call 911, not just go back in my room.
Well, you never know if they were like there's sometimes all the time I hear a noise and I'm like, oh my God, someone's in my house trying to murder me. And then I'm like, well, no, I'm not. I'm being over dramatic. You don't know if they were like, well,
but you don't see anybody. I mean, they actually physically saw a weird
party house. There's a party house where there's people in and out of that house. How does she know it's not one of like girls bringing a guy home?
I don't know. I guess
dressed like that though.
Not everybody is like us that watches all of this stuff and is into it, so they're scared of everything and thinks the worst at all possible times.
I guess, but I don't know. It's a little.
Good point.
Their reactions were a little strange to me.
The reactions of them being drunk when it first happened, understandable. When you go on and what you're going to say, Brittany, like later when they wake up in the morning, that is a little bit more ridiculous.
Well, yeah, the
Yeah.
next
That's a
morning
little
for
bit more like
sure.
have a brain.
Yeah, the next morning, definitely. It's like, okay, what were you guys like doing? Like, why did things unfold the way they did?
Yeah. Yeah. So the 4 victims were stabbed to death on the second and third floors of the residence where they had been in bed. The victims were not gagged or restrained, and the walls at the scene were spattered with blood. Mogan and Goncalves were found in Mogan's bedroom, and Kernodle and Chapin were found in Kernodle's room. Before the 911 call was made, the surviving roommates reportedly summoned friends to the residence because they believed one of the second floor victims was unconscious and was not waking up. Someone at the residence called 911 at 11:58 a.m., over 7 hours after the homicides occurred, on a surviving roommate's phone to request aid for an unconscious person. The identity of the 911 caller was not released, but police confirmed the caller was not considered a suspect. When police arrived, the door to the home was open. There was no sign of forced entry or damage inside the house, and nothing appeared to be missing. The 2 surviving roommates were on the property when police arrived, as were other friends of the victims. Ugh, God, glad I wasn't there.
See, that's the part that is like weird. And they're saying like there was an unconscious person, and it was very clear that she had been like,
Yeah, they said that she was
laying in like a pool of
like
blood.
a massive amount of blood, and this girl walked by that door at least twice.
Yeah.
Once in the early morning, then once when she woke up and said she just looked unconscious.
But she was laying in a pool of
They
blood,
said there was so much blood. It was like seeping out of the foundation of the house to the outside. That's how much blood there was.
Yeah, like so the roommate Dylan, the one that was on the second floor where Xana and Ethan were. So she ran by to go downstairs to the other roommate, Bethany. Her room was downstairs. So she ran by the room and saw her Xana passed out on the floor with her head towards the wall and her feet towards the door.
At 4 whatever in the
4
morning.
whatever in the morning after all this occurred. And then in the morning, they walked by again, and she was in the same position. And I'm sorry, not morning, the afternoon. She was in the same position, and she said that she still thought she was just drunk, sleeping. All that time in the same spot, like, it's a little weird.
Right.
And in a pool of blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how they get to me. It's like, all right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank God our brains keep growing as we get older. That's all I can say. All 4 victims were pronounced dead at noon. Lovely. Detectives stated they believed the killings occurred sometime between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. Upon searching the residence, officers came upon Goncalves' dog, which she shared with her ex-boyfriend, alive, thank God, and unharmed on the 3rd floor. Yay.
Yes.
The investigator of the stabbings was led by the
I have to
Moscow
admit-
Police Department. What's that? Benny, did you say something?
No, I said I have to shamelessly confess. I have to confess that when I read about Goncalves' dog, that was the happiest I was of all of this.
Yeah, he was so
That the
cute.
dog was alive.
Yeah, he was a little golden doodle.
Little baby.
Adorable. I know, right? There was one good part of all of this, right?
Yeah.
So the investigation of the stabbings was led by the MPD, Moscow Police Department, and supported by the Idaho State Police, the ISP, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Although almost 130 members of law enforcement from the 3 agencies worked on the case. Wow. Autopsies on the 4 victims were performed in Spokane, Washington. The Latta County coroner stated the victims all appeared to have been stabbed multiple times with fatal wounds in the chest and upper body with a large knife, if not the same knife, very similar ones. At least one victim with what were apparently defensive stab wounds on her hands and possibly more, appear to have tried to fend off their attacker, and the victims may have been attacked while sleeping in their beds. None showed signs of sexual assault. All 4 deaths were deemed homicide by stabbing. The victims were not tied or gagged. No weapon has been recovered, although the police believe the killer or killers used a fixed blade knife.
You know, I didn't go to medical school, but I think I could have called that one. Yeah, they got stabbed to death.
Yeah.
And I think it was a knife.
Yeah, I think it was a knife. I'm not sure, you know.
So the following day, I guess, Bryan had driven, I forget the name of the town, but it was like 34 miles away from where he lived. And they're saying that that was probably where he disposed of the knife.
Yeah, because it was like very early the next morning.
Yeah, and there was like no reason for him to be going there at all. It was literally 34 miles away. And then he like came back. So they think that he dumped it. There's like a river or something over there.
Sorry, I'm laughing at my dad's comment in the chat.
Yeah, does anybody see him?
Well, share it with us.
Looks like a rough crowd tonight. Dave's Carnival is open for the night. I hope all the girls on the podcast tonight have shaved their armpits for the show.
All right.
Yeah.
What a rat.
Aren't you glad I asked?
I wonder if he gives the same criteria to those entering the carnival.
I know.
I don't think he has.
I think he asked if they've shaved something else for the night.
Well, it said they were all sexually assaulted. No, they were not. Nobody was sexually assaulted during any of this.
Which is weird. But, yeah.
So, a surviving roommate who reportedly saw the suspect described him as a male stranger around 5 feet 10 inches and not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. On November 19th, Moscow police requested the public provide any video of the house that had been recorded the night of the killings. A phone tip line and email were created through the FBI for the public to submit information to officials. As of December 5th, 2,600 email tips, 2,700 phone calls, and 1,000 digital media submissions were reportedly submitted to these tip lines. On December 24th, investigators reported having received at least 15,000 tips regarding the case.
Wow.
The police initially left open the possibility of more than one perpetrator. Police stated that they believed it was a targeted attack, but have not concluded if the target was the residents or its occupants. So they were saying that they think that the person that was the target was Maddie, and that Kaylee just happened to be sleeping in the bed with her, unfortunately, and that's the reason why she
was moved out.
Murdered. And then they're saying Xana, so they're saying that she was in the kitchen and heard the noises upstairs and went upstairs to check, and that's the only reason why she was murdered, was because he saw her, and then she ran downstairs to her bedroom where Ethan was sleeping, and that's what. So none of these people other than Maddie, had she been in that room alone, would probably have been murdered, they're saying. And I guess Maddie had the worst of all of the wounds.
I also
out of everyone,
feel like if she had been in that room by herself, she also probably would have been sexually assaulted. But I think that it just went sideways and he panicked.
Yeah.
He probably went there to rape her.
Yeah.
Who knows if he went there to kill her?
Maybe. I don't know.
Is she the one he was stalking one of them though, right? Is she the one he was stalking?
The tiny little skinny blonde girl, yeah.
Yeah, Maddie. So, but we don't know if he was, we don't really know anything about how he came about, to know any of the residents.
But the stalking started in July because his phone started pinging off towers near their house on King Road starting in July.
Yeah.
So that's when he found out who they were and where they lived. Who knows how? But
we have no idea how. Because
that's when he started stalking her.
But he was also contacting her via social media too, correct?
I don't know. So initially when all of this happened, there was like a report that something along the lines of he had messaged her, but it went to like the hidden messages and she never saw it or something. But I have not heard anything about that since this had all occurred back in like 2022. So I don't know how true that piece of information is or not. But other than that, we have no idea how he knows her, why he knows her. There was no correspondence, like, from what they found between any of them. So, and he, of course, isn't admitting to it, so we can't even hear, like,
well, I mean, there's multiple
the
ways.
truth.
They were very active on Instagram. They were very active on TikTok. They had parties at their house all the time. They went to the same school he was attending and teaching at.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Wow.
the police initially left open the possibility for, sorry, I already read that. In a November 23rd press conference, the Moscow police chief said that authorities have received a number of tips, one of which indicated that Gonzalez had a stalker, but were unable to verify that claim or identify any such individual by the time of the press conference. While this claim received much press attention at the time, it is yet to be mentioned in the case against the eventual suspect. After receiving hundreds of tips from the public on December 15th, police announced they were searching records of approximately 22,000 fifth-generation Hyundai Elantras made between 2011 and 2013. A camera in the area captured video of a white or light-colored Elantra around the time of the murders, which investigators noticed had made multiple passes along the same route near the residence. Another surveillance recording obtained by investigators also showed an Elantra passing by the victim's home 3 times, being around 3:29 a.m., At 4:04 a.m., the Elantra returned to the home for a 4th time. At 4:20 a.m., the car was seen speeding away from the victim's neighborhood.
He was like going more than that. They showed multiple times him go. He drove towards and away from that residence like 10 times before he decided to actually go do whatever he was doing.
He wasn't in there that long, then, was he?
No, it wasn't
in the
even.
house. It was like 15 minutes, I think.
Wow.
It was like 4 minutes after Zaina received her DoorDash order is when he was seen pulling up to the house.
Yeah.
That's why she was in the kitchen. She was eating her food.
Yeah.
And sorry if you hear that crying and gagging. That's my son panicking that we're in this room and not out there with him. He's having an anxiety attack. Sorry. It's very loud.
I can't hear him.
Investigators in neighboring Pullman, Washington, a college town adjacent to Moscow, began an investigation into a white Elantra belonging to a 28-year-old PhD candidate and teaching assistant named Bryan Christopher Kohberger, who drove it with his father home to the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania for the holidays. Kohberger's Elantra was a later year than the original police description. Kohberger was pulled over twice within a nearly 5-mile radius by Indiana State Police on Interstate 70 outside Greenfield, Indiana, for following too close or tailgating. The FBI denied allegations that they had directed the Indiana State Police to make the stops. Investigators obtained cell phone data that showed that Kohberger's phone stopped connecting to the network around 2:47 a.m. in Pullman on November 13th before reconnecting around 4:48 a.m. near Blaine, Idaho, which is near U.S. Highway 95 south of Moscow. Cell phone data also shows that his phone utilized a cell tower near the victim's residence around 9 a.m. On November 13th, approximately 5 hours after the killings. Police also obtained data that indicated his phone pinged from the cell phone tower nearest the residence at least 12 times between June 2022 and November 13.
Jeez.
Creep. He was fucking creep.
Yeah. Investigators obtained 3 unidentified male DNA samples from the crime scene, including DNA found on a tan leather knife sheath on Mogan's bed. Using a public genealogy database, authorities reportedly identified a partial match to an individual with a familial connection to Kohberger. Investigators recovered trash from outside Kohberger's family's home in Pennsylvania for DNA, which they stated was consistent with being the source of the DNA from the sheath. Before the arrest, investigators monitored Kohberger outside of his parents' Pennsylvania home. He was seen multiple times wearing surgical gloves and observed putting trash bags inside of the garbage can of a neighbor. The items were sent to the Idaho State Lab for testing. Authorities also said Kohberger had cleaned his car inside and out, not missing an inch. According to authorities, a search of the home where Kohberger was arrested revealed a knife, a pistol, and a black face mask, as well as ID cards inside a glove inside a box.
That's bizarre.
Kohberger, yeah, he did a lot of
They were like watching him. They were watching him
things.
They were watching him through like a sniper was watching him, like through all the windows in the house.
But you know that you might be watched by the police, so you wear surgical gloves and you put trash bags inside your neighbor's garbage
and you leave your blinds wide open all day.
Yeah, way to draw attention to yourself, you know?
Yeah.
They were saying too that I guess his family started becoming like suspicious that it was him that had committed the murders. Like I think mostly his sister had started becoming suspicious.
She was asking like the parents, like, do you think it was him? Do you think? But his dad became suspicious on their drive back from Washington to Pennsylvania. His dad, I guess, became suspicious like halfway through the drive.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
Kohberger was taken into custody by an FBI SWAT team and the Pennsylvania State Police on December 30th at the home of his parents in Monroe County, Pennsylvania. At the time of his arrest, authorities found Kohberger in the kitchen dressed in a shirt and shorts while wearing examination gloves and putting trash into separate Ziploc baggies.
He's fucking weird.
He's a strange man.
He's so weird. Sorry. That's so weird.
To say the least.
So weird. I don't know how he thought he was going to do that, like in front, and he was doing it in front of his parents and his sister. That's why they became suspicious. They said he started acting so weird. If you start doing that in my kitchen, I swear to God.
Watch out, guys.
I better not catch you at 1 a.m. wearing
the neighborhood. Check the neighborhood for dead body.
I have to think this guy was weird to begin with, though.
Well, he was.
In high school and stuff.
In high school, he was extremely overweight, and then he became addicted to heroin. I don't know if we're going to get into that, but
I didn't know that. Okay.
Oh yeah, he was a heroin addict. Mm-hmm. He was overweight, and he was very weird. No girls wanted to date him. He never had a girlfriend, and then this is what he turned into.
Not a dummy, but yeah, just very bizarre.
Oh no, he was extremely smart. Yeah, he was top of his class. He was just really weird.
Putting it nicely.
So Bryan Christopher Kohberger was born on November 21st, 1994 in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. After graduating from Pleasant Valley High School in 2013, he attended Monroe Career and Technical Institute in Barnesville. I don't pronounce anything right, so excuse me, but dropped out a year later. Kohberger later attended Northampton Community College's campus in Tannersville, where he earned an associate's degree in psychology in 2018. After graduating from Northampton, he worked as a security guard for the Pleasant Valley School District, the same school district where his father previously worked as a maintenance worker for many years and his mother for a time as a substitute teacher. His education included undergraduate degrees in psychology and cloud-based forensics, and an MA in 2022 in criminal justice from DeSales University in Center Valley, Pennsylvania. So again, he was very smart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the summer of 2022, Kohberger moved to Washington State to pursue a PhD at Washington State University in Pullman. Its campus is less than 8 miles west of Moscow. At the time of the killings, he was a doctoral student in criminology and had completed his first semester there 9 days before his arrest. Kohberger had been a teaching assistant at WSU, and less than 2 weeks before the murders, faculty members met with him to discuss growing concerns about his behavior and conduct. Kohberger was terminated from his teaching assistant role on December 19th, with the decision being based on his behavior and performance overall. Apparently, he was
being a good call.
He was very. He thought he was like smarter than the teachers and would like kind of like give them attitude. Oh goddamn, attitudes. But then also, I guess he like really was like, what's the word I'm looking for towards female students? You know the word.
Not condescending. He was
womanizing. Like, what's the word?
Womanizing.
You know what I meant? What's the word?
Flirty.
Like, no, he was like very like. He looked down on them.
He talked down.
He talked down on them. He had issues
with women. He had issues with women.
So like he would take it out on all the female students and like basically talk down on them and leave the guys alone. I don't know. He's a weirdo.
Yeah, misogynist. That's
the word I'm looking
Thanks,
for.
Walt.
That's
Thank
it.
you, Walt.
Yes. So on December 30th of 2022, Kohberger was arrested on 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 felony count of burglary. Was appointed a public defender and was detained without bond at the Monroe County Correctional Facility in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. On his return to the county courthouse on January 3rd, 2023, he agreed to extradition. On January 4th, he was flown to Pullman, driven to the Lada County Jail in Moscow, and held without bail. Kohberger made his first appearance in the Lada, I hope I'm saying that right, Lada County Courthouse on January 5th and was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary for breaking into a home with the intent to commit a felony. 1 week later, on January 12th, Kohberger made his second appearance for a status conference in the same room at the courthouse. On May 17th, 2023, the Lada County District Court announced that Kohberger was indicted by a grand jury on 5 charges, 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary. Preliminary probable cause hearing scheduled for June 26 was canceled after the indictment. In May of 2023, Kohberger refused to enter a plea deal during his arraignment. His attorney said that Kohberger was standing silent on the charges. The judge entered a not guilty plea for him. On June 26, the Lada County Prosecutor's Office announced they were seeking the death penalty given the aggravating circumstances of the first-degree murder charges. Kohberger was denied bond in January of 24. The judge granted the defense access under seal the results of the investigative genetic genealogy testing, which used a touch sample from the knife sheath left behind at the crime scene, which first led to the investigation of Kohberger. Idiot, first of all, idiot. On September 9th of 2024, the judge granted the defense's motion for a change of venue. The trial is now scheduled to take place in Boise, Idaho, with Judge Stephen Hippler presiding over the case. On October 9th of 2024, Judge Hippler set the start date for jury selection as July 30th, 2025, with the jury trial beginning on August 11th, 2025.
So they get like 9 months to prepare for the case. I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah.
I know.
A while.
Come up with lies for the case. Yeah.
I mean, he's already trying to say that there's an alternative person and he was framed.
Which is now just apparently being brought up. He didn't say anything about this for the past how many years that this case happened to go? Like, yeah. Now all of a sudden they've come up with this idea of somebody setting him up.
Yeah, it's a
sure.
So they stole your sheath.
Yeah.
Goodbye. I'm just done with him. On February 24th of 2023, University of Idaho President C. Scott Green announced that the house where the killings occurred was donated to the university. It was demolished 10 months later on December 28th. A memorial garden for the victims on the University of Idaho campus opened in 2024 as the Vandal Healing Garden. Scholarships in the name of 3 of the victims, Kronodal, Chapin, and Mogan, have been created. The university awarded, what is this word? Yep, that one, degrees to the 4 victims at its spring commencement ceremonies on May 13th, 2023. Wow. I think it's so sad that, what was it, Kaylee Gonzalez. She had like 1 semester left and was about to graduate. She had like moved all of her stuff out, was like preparing to be back was she at home, I guess?
Yeah.
Or in her own apartment, like was about to graduate and then just gets murdered a semester before.
Yeah. There was also another roommate, Ashlyn, who had actually just recently moved out because she graduated a couple months like prior. And she was supposed to be there that weekend, but her parents, they were out of state. Their flight got delayed. And so they asked her to stay at their house to take care of the dogs for an extra night. So she would have been there as well if her parents
She was home, yeah. What's her name? Whose best friend was she?
That I believe she was Maddie's best friend.
She was her best friend since like childhood. Yeah. So if you think about it, she probably would have been sleeping in that bed instead of Kaylee, or all three of them might have been sleeping in that bed, and she would have been.
Yeah, she was supposed to be there. So
this reminds me of like when you buy. You know, you have a plane flight and you decide at the last minute not to go and the plane crashes and there's a,
I know.
You narrowly escape death. I mean,
yeah, because so the reason why they were all there was because it was like a big night for like a football game, something along those lines. It was like a big deal. So there was like parties and everything going on, and that was why Kaylee had come back, and that was why Ashlyn was also supposed to be there too. It was because of that big game.
That's I don't know. Those other two roommates are super.
Yeah, that whole thing, like the next morning, like that. So they.
No, I'm saying they're super lucky that they escaped, that they didn't leave their rooms, because had they left their rooms and made noise or try to like fight this person or be like, what the fuck are you doing in my house? They would have been dead too. Like everybody in the house. They're lucky they weren't drunk and dumb as they were and stayed in their rooms.
I guess at that point he was like so tired from, I mean, he had just killed 4 people in a matter of 10 minutes. I guess they were saying like it was probably a mixture of she didn't say anything to him and he was probably so tired from what just happened that he just wanted to get out of there. That's probably also what saved her. Because they were saying that after he did whatever to Xana and Ethan, that he actually sat down in a chair after, because there was blood like on the chair as if somebody had sat there. Because they were saying that he was just like exhausted from because he stabbed them a lot.
Yeah. He stabbed them a lot, and then like I guess Ethan got stabbed in an artery. That's what killed him. Like, it was just one time in an artery and he was dead. But then he went back like over to him and carved his like they described it as carving. He carved up the bottoms of his legs for some reason. Yeah. I don't know if he wrote something. I don't know what he was doing, but apparently he went back over and just carved him up. Are the words he used.
Yeah, they're saying that they think it was because it had to do with something with like the women being like promiscuous, and like he was like he felt some type of way about the way that the girls were acting and that there was a male in the house. It was something like strange like that the psychologist was like trying to analyze why he reacted that way to Ethan and why he did that.
Or just jealous because he had a girlfriend and he
like
never did.
It was something strange about why he.
Well, I mean, they were very attractive. You know, like I would call them the beautiful people, and he probably felt like he was on the outside looking in. And you know, he's also kind of pushing 30. Maybe he's kind of figuring, well, this isn't going to happen for me. Who knows?
Yeah.
Wow.
Why? But
sorry,
why not? I mean, I guess my question is, why not Washington State where he worked? Why Idaho?
Well, that's what I want to know. Like, I just want to know, like, what is the connection? Like, how does he know them? Like, how did he figure out who these people were? Like,
well, they said he had, like, when they went through his phone, he had, like, screenshots of several different women in, like, bikinis and stuff that he found on Instagram. But he had several screenshots of pretty girls from Idaho State University that he had gotten off like the university's Instagram from like their football games, like, and stuff like that. So he clearly was just stalking that university.
And the girls that he had pictures of were friends with the girls that lived in the house, like Maddie and Kaylee. Like they were friends of theirs that they like followed on social media too. So I don't know. Yeah.
Wow.
I think he found them somehow, some way on Instagram. I mean, I know I go on someone's page and then I see their cousin. And I'm like, oh, their cousin. And then I stalk everybody. I'm a stalker too, just in a different type of way.
Yeah.
Not murdery, just for funsies. But I think that's what he was doing. I think he like was just clicking on people's pages, looking for girls, going through the friends list, and came across them, took a liking to Maddie in particular.
She's very pretty.
because she was
very
beautiful.
pretty.
And then her roommates, obviously, he just found out where she lived. Oh, this is her roommate, and just started like stalking. And I mean, they were saying like they've had parties there all the time. Sometimes they weren't even home when parties were happening at their house. That he could have somehow sneaked in, and was like in there, saw the layout, saw where everyone's rooms were. They posted all their business on TikTok, like videos of the whole inside of their house, and all their business was posted on social media.
Well, when he entered the house, he went directly to Maddie's room. That's the thing. Like, he knew exactly where he was going because he entered on the second floor, which is the kitchen, the sliding doors off the kitchen. And Dylan's room is at the bottom of those steps. So he wasn't going there just to randomly kill whoever he wanted to kill, because he would have gone into Dylan's room first. He was the first room. He went directly up the steps and to the right, exactly where Maddie's room was. So somehow he knew exactly where her bedroom and where she was located. So, I mean, I feel like he had to have been in that house at some point, or he had to have known the layout at somehow to know where she was.
Yeah. And if they, excuse the term, but advertise on TikTok, I mean, I hope somebody, at least one, but more than one, people learn from this. Stop showing your house on TikTok.
Yeah.
Don't say where you live. Like, if you're going to send out an invitation to people that you go to school with, send it just privately to those people. Mm-hmm. Don't send it to the whole world, because look what could happen.
Yeah, I agree.
I always say, when you throw out the net, you never know what kind of fish you're going to catch.
Good one.
Yep. Yeah, very social media can be dangerous, especially with TikTok, like videoing your house, and it's just
Kim Kardashian. That's what happened with the Kim Kardashian. She showed her little bling bling, told everybody what hotel she was staying at, and then she was tied up and robbed.
Yeah. That whole situation. Yeah. People just need to be careful. Yeah. Or like they're on TikTok live and they're like, oh, this is where I'm at, meeting here. And it's like, you shouldn't be telling people like in real time, like where you are.
I know. Kidnapping, murder, look at all the stuff that can happen, rape, whatever. But I mean, colleges, this is scary. I'd be very scared if I was a parent. I really would.
Oh, I'm scared. I'm scared all the time. I'm scared all the time.
Yeah.
I bet. I don't blame you.
I'm scared all the time. It takes one creep. Like, obviously, I'm not going to shelter my daughter and keep her in the house. And I'm not trying to be like toot my own horn, but I have a beautiful daughter and she doesn't look like she's 15. And men say things to her all the time. And her friends are all driving now. So she's out. I can't really I have her location, but like, I'm afraid like someone's going to like follow her home.
Yeah.
It's scary. Even with me, I make sure I'm watching if someone's following me, I just keep driving until they're not following me anymore. Even if they're not following me and I think they are, I'll just keep driving. But it's scary that these creeps like this exist. They see you on social media or out in public and they just stalk your whole life.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
We've been saying that like in this day and age, it's nearly impossible to get away with something, but a guy like this who I think he believed that he was smarter than anybody, and he really thought that he could get away with it. He could outsmart everybody. So
I think that he could have gotten away with it. Not to interrupt you, if the plan had went the way he in his head planned it, and he had went straight to her room, she was in that bed, he raped and killed her, whatever, and got out. I don't think he would have ever dropped that sheath, because there probably wouldn't have been a struggle, because the girl was this big compared to him. And that was where he messed up, was dropping that sheath, because that's what had his evidence on it and his DNA, because they said there was not a single drop of anything else in that house of evidence.
Wow.
I mean, they could have saw the video, but the video with the Ring camera could have been anybody in a white Elantra. They couldn't see the license plate.
Right.
So I think that he could have gotten away with it had he not dropped that sheath, had everything went the way that it was supposed to. He would still be walking the streets right now.
He might have still been a person of interest, but they wouldn't have had enough evidence to,
right.
Well, apparently, like, he did it so well that like he didn't even take any of the DNA from the scene, even blood, and get even a drop of it in his vehicle.
That's
That's amazing, considering how bloody it was.
Yeah, that's what they were saying, like on the documentary. They were like, we don't understand. They said it's not like unusual. Like we've had cases of like where we know the person has murdered this person before, but took no DNA on their person and brought into their car. But I just think that's so weird, like how bloody it was, especially them saying it was so bloody it was seeping out of the foundation onto the outside of the house.
I heard that too. That was unbelievable. I've never heard anything like that before.
There's pictures of it. They have pictures of the outside of the house where you can see the blood like dried up, dripping down like
crazy.
The concrete.
He also got it. He went to the DMV, I think it was like the next day, and changed his license plate to Washington from Pennsylvania. So it's just like really suspicious. Like, why are you doing that? Like the following day, why are you driving back in the area the following morning at like 9 a.m.? Like, why are you the next morning?
Why are you Googling the same exact knife that was found at the scene?
He did looking for
like multiple times, like added it to his cart, hit buy now, but didn't proceed with like. I think it's crazy, first of all, how they can tell like what you do on your phone. Like they can tell like you were on Amazon, you hit buy now, but didn't purchase. I think that's crazy that they have all this stuff, but
that is pretty scary.
He did it multiple times to that same exact sheet.
I wonder if, not to interrupt, but I wonder if they did that with Dave's phone. What would they find?
We know what they would find only because we've had to use his phone to help him do things on there. I know what they would find on there.
Yeah.
What would his phone be rated?
What do you mean?
I mean, I wouldn't give it to a child.
If Dave's phone was a movie, what would it be rated?
Rated R.
Rated
maybe MA.
R? Wow.
Rated MA, maybe.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Okay, so now we're not talking triple X.
Gloves. I would definitely use surgical gloves to hold his phone. Is all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
You have to get a shot after using his phone.
Wash your hands with bleach immediately after.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
So, are you sure it's rated R then?
It might be rated
MA. Triple X. I was going to say triple X.
Whatever's the worst. Whatever's rated the worst, that's what it's rated.
Oh, it's X. Triple X.
Triple X.
Yeah. Triple X is when you wear a trench coat to the movie theater and a hat so nobody knows that you're going. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. That's my dad's phone.
That sounds more like
Pee Wee Hermaning.
Yeah. Yes. Oh,
right. Yes.
Pee Wee Herman.
R.I.P. Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah. No.
Pee Wee shot somebody in the theater, but not with bullets.
Yeah.
Not with bullets.
Good one, Betty.
That was a good one.
I just got that.
Took me a second too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, the chat room's pretty. Although RJ said rated R, Walt said triple X. RJ, he came back with triple X. I'm saying triple X. Yeah. You got to go get a shot after. It's like you have to go to the free clinic and get a shot after you handle Dave's phone.
Yeah, you need like a shot of penicillin or something. After.
There you go. Yeah. Right away, within 24 hours after handling Dave's phone.
Yep.
Oh my goodness! Remind me never to borrow his phone. And always have mine.
Don't ever use it. I would. Yeah. Don't ever use this phone.
Or bring some latex gloves. That would be very helpful.
Yes.
I think I still have some laying around since COVID. I think I bought a whole box.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
I'll remember that.
When did this guy leave to go to Pennsylvania? How soon after the murders?
I think it was right like a week later, like not too long after, because he went
for about a week maybe.
He went for Thanksgiving.
No, he was going for Christmas.
Oh, Christmas.
He's going for Christmas.
But
obviously, and his father came with him though, right?
His father flew.
So the father had to fly there.
Yeah, and then they drove back together.
Yeah, he did. He flew there, and then they drove back together.
I mean, you're talking like a 3-day, at least a 3-day trip.
Yeah, but
at the end of 3 days, you have to think that something's going on with this kid.
Well, I mean, apparently, so the murders happened at 4:17 or whatever, and then his phone turned on like a half hour later. All of a sudden, his phone was turned back on in the area of where he lives, and then at like 6 something their time, which would be like 8 or 9 something here in Pennsylvania.
3 hours, yeah.
So that was like 2 hours after the murders. He had made multiple phone calls to his father. I think the longest one was 54 minutes. So I feel like it's kind of like the Landry, what's his name? Laundry.
Brian
Brian
Laundry.
Laundry, yeah.
Landry's her boyfriend's last name.
Yeah.
The Brian
Yeah,
Laundry.
he was Laundry, not Landry, yeah.
The murder happened, and then he was immediately on the phone with his father and his parents for multiple hours. Like 2 hours
Right.
after this murder happened, he was on the phone with his father multiple times, the longest call lasting 54 minutes.
But he obviously didn't say anything to him because the dad said that he became suspicious of him during the
I think his
ride.
dad's a liar. I think he called his dad
I
and
don't
was
know.
panicking.
His parents don't, I don't know. They didn't seem like they were,
His dad looks like a weirdo too.
they didn't seem like Brian Laundry's parents that were like,
No,
appeal.
they were obsessed with him. Brian
Yeah.
Laundrie's mother wanted to touch her child inappropriately.
yeah, there was something.
Ew.
I would agree with that, yeah.
This guy's
Those
father
bizarre.
looks like a friggin' weirdo. In the videos of them being pulled over on the interstate, whatever, 70 or whatever, he looks like a creep.
I don't know. I don't know.
You know how you can like just look at like you can just look at David and know David's a creep? You just look at this man, you know he's a creep.
But David's a likable creep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if this man was likable, but you know he just looked like a creep. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just
That's
think it's weird that you
wild.
murder.
We love Dave.
Yeah,
Yes.
we love him. You murder two
Yes.
people, and then you murder 4 people, and then 2 hours later you're dialing your parents. Like he must have been acting weird. That's probably why they became suspicious. If he didn't say
Yeah.
anything to them.
I gotta believe he said he had to say something to tip him off a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know.
Although I
Yeah.
mean, from what I understand, he was very unemotional the whole time, like in court and everything.
Yes.
He's
This is
definitely
so
you don't want to play poker with the guy. Well, he probably
No,
murdered
but they
him,
were saying like an hour or two, like 2 hours after the murders, like I don't know if it was before or after he called his dad, like he was in the mirror taking a selfie of himself. He had just showered, his hair was done, he had like a button-up shirt on, he's like smiling, giving like a thumbs up like a creep, like after he just murdered people 3 hours earlier, and he was being like
Oh my God.
and not for anything, that part of the country seems to be like, the hot spot because you had Bundy somehow wound up there, Ted Bundy, right? You had Gary Ridgway, the what was his nickname? Green
Was he
River,
the
Green River
I-5?
Killer. Yeah.
Oh, Green River.
Yeah, I mean he might have murdered as many as like 100 people, and then you had the I-5 killings that way.
Yeah.
Well,
So yeah,
There
a
were
lot of,
so many.
you
He
would
was
think that
obsessed
being in
with
the middle
Ted
of nowhere in Idaho or Washington, that the one thing you would be, you'd be bored shitless, but at least you'd be safe,
Yeah.
yeah.
You would think, but I'll tell you, my favorite author, Anne Rule, who is
Yes.
now dead.
Oh my God, she's great. Yes.
Oh, the best. She was my absolute favorite. I bought every book she's written, and now I'm buying her daughter's books even. But she is from Washington, and I will tell you, 90% of her books are about murderers from Washington. Every time I open one, I sit there and go, how much stuff is going on in Washington?
Yeah. Like,
Well, I think it's like a coincidence that Bryan Kohberger was obsessed with Ted Bundy and then ended up like moving there. I
there
wonder
you
if
go.
that was the reason why he.
Copycat, maybe. Yeah.
Makes you
Well,
wonder.
I mean, Bundy murdered at University of Florida, right?
He did.
Florida
Yeah.
State.
He did.
Yeah. So yeah, copycat killing.
Yeah.
But didn't Anne Rule work with Bundy at one point? I believe she
Yeah,
did.
they worked on a suicide hotline together,
Yeah,
and they became friendly.
I forgot. I still think have some of her books on my on Audible. Those very, very good writer.
Oh, she's the best. Absolutely. She's what made me. I read one book that was from her, and I had a probably 3 or 4 other true crime books, but hers was so like spectacular, far above everybody else's. I just like threw all those out, and I started buying every single Anne Rule book. Every one of them.
Didn't she write about Diane Downs as well?
I was just gonna say she wrote that too. Yeah.
And there's another one from that area.
Yep, I know. Unbelievable. I'm telling you, this woman made a living writing about just what's going on in her state.
This is Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the most like serial killers came from Alaska. Am I like
Really?
lying to myself?
Alaska?
Alaska produces a lot of serial killers.
I feel like Washington does, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's right there, is it not?
No.
Washington's in the corner or something over there, isn't it?
I don't know. To me, if like you murder somebody in Alaska and you look out the window, like 3 days later, you can still see them running away. So I don't know.
Well, you can see Russia from Alaska if you go in your backyard.
That's right.
Right.
Don't forget that, Ms. Palin.
Yeah, I thought I read that. I'm gonna have to look that up because that could be like some good cases on here. I don't like that one guy. Who was he? That the Alaskan butcher. Did you guys ever do that episode yet? Like an episode on him?
Oh, I've heard of him. We haven't done that.
Or the Alaskan baker. I don't know what he was. I don't know if he was a butcher or a baker.
No, I know what you're talking about because I believe John Cusack played him.
Yeah.
And I mean, John Cusack always plays like lighthearted. He did such a good job as a serial killer. I think Kevin Costner was the cop in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about that. Yes.
I saw that. Yeah.
And there's several podcasts. I'm telling you, there's murderers in Alaska. You got to look it up. There's a bunch of them.
All right, we're gonna have to do that.
Another reason to not live there besides the average temperature is like 80 below zero, right?
Yeah.
So one of our good friends just moved there, and it's still snowing there. There's like multiple.
I would imagine when you try to stab somebody, the knife would like just bounce off because it's so damn cold.
You'd have too many layers of Canadian goose on it. You couldn't even get through.
How do you get through all the layers of clothing and the blankets and crap? I mean,
you got to stab real hard.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll have to check that out. Which per capita, which state has the most serial killers?
Yeah,
we'll report on that next week.
Tiffany's going to do it right now. She's going to Google it. I thought it was Alaska, but I could be wrong. But
I'm going to say Washington.
She's Googling it. I would like to say hello to two friends of mine.
Oh, yes.
And yes, we have to do this because it's very important to me. We have to say hello to, as Benny told me, that I should address her as Miss P, which is Denise, and then hello to Mrs. P. They are my friends, and they are mother and daughter, and they are the coolest.
Hi, Mrs. P.
If I could pick a mother, if I could hand pick a mother, Mrs. P would be it.
Is there like a Grandmaster P or no?
She should be the Grandmaster P.
Okay. Wasn't there a Grandmaster P in WCW?
What state has no serial killers?
They were the drizzling shits, but I'm sure Mrs. P is not.
No, she's definitely not.
My Wi-Fi's turned off.
She's the polar opposite of that. Well, hello, Mrs. P and Miss P from all of us.
Yes,
thank you for watching us. We really appreciate that.
We do.
Tell all your friends about us too. We do a good job here.
We do.
If they're lucky, they can catch Dave.
Yeah.
Or do you want to keep them? Do you want to tell them not to watch it when Dave is on?
Well, no, for them, I think they enjoy Dave. I'm sure Denise and Mrs. P enjoy Dave very much. Now, if they have any normal friends, it might be a different situation. So we'll see.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
not to interrupt you, but before this goes out, because our phones are acting weird, by 2025, data indicates that California ranks the highest in sheer volume of serial killers, while Alaska claims a remarkably high rate per capita.
Okay.
With the population density, vast terrain, and social dynamics all play roles in shaping those grim statistics.
Wow. See that? You got a good memory.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know my killers.
Very, very, very interesting. So does this guy stand a chance in trial, Kohberger?
No, I think that absolutely
I hope not.
Are we going to see him fry? Or how are they going to?
I don't think he's going to get the death penalty, but I'm hoping he gets life in prison.
I hope he does get the death penalty.
I feel like they're not throwing the death penalty around anymore. I feel like they're like everyone's against it everywhere.
And then when they do, they take it back.
Yeah. There should be no takesy backsies. Once you get it, you get it.
Yeah.
And it should be done immediately. You shouldn't be sitting on death row for 20 years. You should be immediately murdered.
I know.
Right.
I agree.
All right, guys. Well, going to put a wrap on this. I think everybody's going to watch Monday Night Raw. So if you haven't done so, please make sure you subscribe to the Monte and the Pharaoh YouTube channel so you won't miss any episodes. Please do not forget to join yours truly and Dan Sebastiano tomorrow night for Dan and Benny in the Ring. Then on Wednesday night at 7 for When It Was Real with the great Nikita Brezhnikov. And absolutely do not forget to check out The Bad Girl every Saturday from 1 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Funland Radio, spinning the oldies. And you can also find yours truly on Want Radio every Sunday at 3 for Benny the Jet and the Jet Set. So I did a little bit of a gimmick change. So, yeah, there's that. But for The Bad Girl, Brittany Brown, and the new genius Tiffany Starr, as well as terrible Tori Starr, this is the one and only player telling everyone to stay safe and see you next crime.
Bye.
Night, Mrs. P and Miss P.
Night, Miss P.
Miss and Mrs.
Night, Mrs. P and Miss P.